Let's go.
This is the Ray and Adam Show, brought to you by inplayLIVE. The Ray and Adam Show, a podcast where Ray and Adam, two professional sports bettors and brothers, talk about all things sports investing, sports betting, and how to profit in the long run from betting on sports and fantasy football. And now, the Ray and Adam Show, brought to you by inplayLIVE.
Let's go. Another edition of the Ray and Adam Show. Razor, how you doing, pal?
Good. How are you?
Well, big week in my life this past week. No big deal. It was a big deal. I made the Guinness Book of World Records this week for the best shepherd's pie ever made, if you can believe it.
We've
made
been
it from scratch.
talking about it ever since. If you ever want to unsolicited talk about shepherd's pie,
well, how many times you've been in the Guinness Book of World Records? This is only my fourth.
Yeah, I'm still waiting for the right opportunity myself.
Yeah. No, it was crazy how it came together. Like, I made this shepherd's pie and I called good people at Guinness, and it came together real quick. So I updated my Twitter profile. It says it on there now. So
must have been you must have really caught their attention.
It was really good.
Yeah, because normally I think there's a waiting period, but you just skipped all of that, eh? Just straight right in there.
Yep. Straight through.
Fucking A.
Yeah, no,
Congrats.
no big deal. Yeah, thanks, pal. I really appreciate the really appreciate that.
Yeah, it's nice to have a distraction after that Bills loss, hey?
Yeah, no, it was that was a fun game. Yeah, really enjoyed that. It was
yeah, some called it the game of the year.
How come the game of the year every year is the Bills losing like the most heartbreaking game you can find? Like, why is it that the game that everybody else enjoys the most are the most heartbreaking for us?
Yeah, it's a really good question, but we could end up being on the other side of that at some point.
Yeah, someday.
Should we bring Rod on?
Well, we're going to talk about sports today, and our guest seems to know a little bit about sports. So why don't we bring him on? Rod, are you there, pal? There he is.
Right on cue. You'd think I'd done this before. How's it going, boys?
Yeah, it's not your first rodeo. Rod Pedersen, everybody. No big deal. Roddy's an old pal from Regina. Back in I haven't lived in Regina for a long time, but for those of you, maybe in the United States, I think just about everybody in Canada should recognize Rod if you're a sports fan in any way. You might not know him if you're in the US, but Rod's been covering the Riders for 120 years. Rod, how long has it been now you've been covering the Riders?
Like 220.
Yeah.
We got a lot to update you on since you left, dude.
Yeah,
it's been a while since I left that. Yeah.
So you used to be the voice of the Riders. Now you've got the Rod Pedersen Show. For those of you, I listen to it on a regular, but you guys you're great. The show is awesome.
Appreciate that. Thank you, man. Thank you.
Yeah. It's a hidden gem. Like, it's, I was talking to our mutual friend, Mike Tate, the other day, and he said, a lot of people outside of Regina might not realize what a talent Rod is. I love how you push the envelope. I love how you don't just toe the societal party line every week. You tell people what you really think, and it's refreshing. As our guest last week, Luke Elvey said, you know what, I'm not for sale. I'm gonna tell you what I think, and I know you live by that motto too. So good on you, man. It's
Luke's
awesome
pretty cool, man. I got to know him. Obviously you're a golf guy. That's why you had Luke on. Just unreal, just a class guy, man. I love Luke. But with what Tater said about outside Regina, people are finally outside of Regina finding out who I am. We do the show 6 months of a year in Calgary, 6 months out of a year in South Florida. And we're on the radio in Atlanta now as of September 2nd. We started on WQEE radio there, and we're on Game Plus television. So it was a wonderful career, 20 years with the Rough Riders, but it's kind of a distant memory. I mean, I'm obviously back for Grey Cup, but we don't talk a whole lot about the Riders anymore. It's other things.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
We are going to talk a little bit about the Grey Cup this week. There's, there's a little going on there, and we're going to talk about some other things. We're going to talk about maybe a little Connor Bedard talk? I know you might not. Obviously, you're not in Regina, so you're not watching them every day like some are. But there's as our producer Andrew Pace said, future Vancouver Canuck Connor Bedard. I think there's a whole bunch of hockey fans out there hoping they win the lottery for that kid. Roddy, let's start with the Grey Cup. Interesting game this week. It's first time somebody's going for a three-peat in quite a while, I think. What are your thoughts on the big game?
I think it's good. I mean, honestly, in July, I thought this was the matchup that it would be, Toronto and Winnipeg. Winnipeg was just that good. Early on in the season, I'm like, they're better than the last 2 years. Two teams that won the Grey Cup, and they probably could have won 16 games if they hadn't rested guys. And I think Winnipeg will win. And I think, there's a few storylines in this that are good that you're going to hear if you haven't already. And Ryan Dinwiddie's a good friend of mine. And for him to bring, this is his second year as head coach in Toronto. They finished first both years. So they're going to surprise some people. The betting line, as you said, you guys like to talk betting. It's 4.5 point favorite for Winnipeg. And I think they'll cover. But it's my 21st Grey Cup. And there used to be a rule. You're not allowed to talk about anything other than the teams during Grey Cup week. Monday, the Bo Levi trade comes down. He's now a Hamilton Tiger Cat.
Yeah.
Tuesday, we learn Nathan Rourke has multiple workouts scheduled with the the BC Lions star in the NFL. And it's kind of stealing the thunder from the game. But I think overall, as the week goes along, we'll be talking more Argos, Bombers, and from a CFL perspective, any talk about the CFL is a good thing in a pretty crowded sports marketplace these days.
For sure. People forget. Ray and I, when we were just prepping for the show, we went back and looked, and I forgot that Toronto gave Winnipeg one of their best runs of the year. I mean, I know Winnipeg didn't run the table; they lost a few games, but the game that they played, I think it was week 3 or 4, came down to a missed extra point by Toronto. Like, they gave them everything they could handle. This is going to be a better game than I think maybe the casual fan might think. There's lots of potential for some fireworks here.
We're all going to be watching. I think the ratings will be good. I'm interested to see how many are in the stadium. I mean, thank heavens the weather's getting a little warmer. They were talking like minus 25 potentially initially, but no, now they're saying minus 4, which is decent.
Oh, that's nice.
But I think Rider fans, they sold out the stadium thinking the Riders were going to be in it. And now they're all trying to sell their tickets. And I mean, a lot. I got guys giving me their numbers saying, have them call me, Kirby, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, we're not the flea market guys. You could have asked me. And I think I could have told you in July, August, for sure, the Riders probably aren't going to be in this thing.
Yeah.
And that's a downer. And as if you guys know my story, I'm almost 8 years sober. So I'm not going to be going to the parties. I'm actually going to the lake. I'm coming in to do my show here from Ballers every day. I'm going to the lake and I'm getting out of the madness. But listen, it's going to be crazy, man. It's Regina. It's the CFL. It's the Grey Cup. It's going to be an awesome weekend. I'm not going to be there for that.
Yeah. I don't blame you. Anybody who's been to a Regina Grey Cup would know exactly what you're talking about. It's a bit of a party.
I passed along my tickets sometime in July when.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah. It's.
But I'm going out Saturday night though, so I won't see you there.
Thank you, Kyle James, on the 8 years of sobriety. I should say I'm 2 months away from 8 years, so I shouldn't get cocky. But I'm pretty sure
you're feeling good about it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's actually, I'm glad you brought that up, Rod. And I love how open you are about that aspect of your life. It's really inspiring the way you talk about it. Again, mentioning Luke. Luke wears his heart on his sleeve. He always tells you what's going on. He always can tell you. You never have to worry about what Luke's thinking. He's going to tell you. It was awesome, and you're cut from that same cloth. Can we talk about that? Like
whatever you want.
No, yeah, I mean, so why are you so open with that aspect of your life? Like, I know you inspire a lot of people. Is that kind of why you're so open about it? Or
well, I mean, it was bad. It was bad. It was really bad. So when I faced an intervention, I didn't think I could quit. So I was like, I was just waiting to die. Basically, that's how I felt about myself. Yeah. And I faced an intervention. and got into recovery. And about 9 months in, I was asked to speak at the recovery luncheon here in town. And I'm like, I don't know if I want to do that.
Yeah.
I don't want to go public. I just want to get sober, man. I got my hands full stopping drinking, let alone that. And the guy goes, no, I think it would help a lot of people if you got up and said, he goes, here's your speech. And he jammed it in my gut. He's my counselor to this day, ranted. And when I said, my name's Rod, I'm a person in recovery, the place went nuts. I was like, holy shit.
Yeah.
People like a comeback. They like a good story. So that's the only reason why I'm open about it. There's a lot of people in recovery that don't like that I'm open about it. It's called anonymous for a reason.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, whatever, man. And as far as the anonymity, everybody knew I was a drunk. So if everybody knows I'm sober, who really cares? What's the difference, right? Life is just, it's a lot. It's just so much better. It's so much.
Yeah.
The one tough part for me is I'm kind of starting over again, living in Calgary, living in Florida. So introducing myself as a sober person is cool. But I was at a roast for Lanny McDonald on Thursday night. And then the guys I was sitting with, they were shit-faced by 9. Great guys. But I'm like, okay, I'm about to leave. And I'm like, you're leaving. They're pounding the table. And I'm like, everybody in Sask knows.
Right.
But it's new in those markets. You know, so it's kind of a drag having to do that. But it beats the alternative.
Yeah. Yeah, for
sure. I hope that wasn't too long of an answer.
No, it was awesome, Roddy. It's awesome. And it is super inspiring, right? I mean, it's we all know people who unfortunately haven't overcome what you've overcome and they end up with the alternative. So it's super inspiring to hear that from you. And it's awesome. It's awesome. Let's talk about Nathan Rourke. I mean, people in the US probably don't know the Nathan Rourke story unless you're a diehard fan. Canadian kid goes down, plays college ball in the US, as Pacer says, a Max star, comes up to Canada. First, I mean, there have been a couple of Canadians who've had a cup of tea at quarterback in the Canadian League, but it's a pretty short list. Not only was he missed half the year, but in the time he played, he was the unquestioned most outstanding player in the league. I mean, he was absolutely extraordinary as a rookie. How cool is it to see this Canadian kid coming up here? I mean, it's going to be sad to lose him, but this kid is a star. Well,
he's bridging both countries in football. I mean, he played in the Mid-American Conference, starred Ohio. The football guys in Florida, where I spent half my year, they're like, he's hit it. He's got it. He's got NFL written all over him. And I'm like, why did he have to come to the CFL then? And I only say that as I'm not saying it to be a smart ass. No, I'm not a football guy. I'm a hockey guy first. I don't really understand. Why did you not know coming out of college he should be in the NFL? Why did he have to come to the CFL? But the fact is he did. And as you said, he set all these records. To this day now, he's got the completion percentage. He broke Ricky Ray's record in half a season. And I don't know what, more than anything, he single-handedly brought back BC Lions football in Vancouver. Did you watch the semifinal there? It was like the old days in BC Place. And now he's got all these workouts in the NFL. And I'm just sitting there going, I applaud the BC Lions because Rick Campbell, the coach and co-GM, is saying, we want him to go to the NFL because that's what's best for him if that's what he wants. They'll find the next guy. Yeah. Because there's
maybe his little brother.
Well, right. Curtis is doing great things also at Ohio. Yeah. It's a hell of a story. David Naylor was on our show just this morning talking about that. How this has captured the Canadians' sports fans' conscience is a hell of a story. If you could bottle that, you do it all the time. Who knows why they latched onto this? It's just a great story. And if Nathan was in this Grey Cup, if for whatever reason BC upset Winnipeg, can you imagine? We wouldn't be talking about whether the stadium would be full or not. It would be for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's, take the Canadian aspect out of it. Ray and I were talking about this. I think Jeff Garcia is the last CFL quarterback to go down south and find some real success. I mean, Henry Burris tried it. Casey Printers tried it. Chris Strebler, who's still there, but hasn't really made it. I mean, he's a backup. He's done okay, but I think it would be I think it's great for the league when guys use it as that bridge or stepping stone to go down, because then it's going to encourage more guys to come up. So I love what the Lions are saying about they hope they make it, because maybe that'll get more.
That's why the Lions are coming back as a franchise, because of that attitude. Because
Yeah.
there are other teams that would hold a guy back. And in a way, I'm really closely following Nathan and what he decides to do. And let's remember, he hasn't signed anywhere yet, and he hasn't done anything yet. So until he does, we'll hold the Garcia comparisons. And I get what you're saying. It doesn't happen that often that a guy goes down and does something. But I look at Bo in Calgary. I mean, I wonder if one day Hamilton now, I wonder if he will go back, look back and go, I should have taken that NFL shot.
Right.
Because Minnesota offered him the chance to sign and back up Kirk Cousins. And if you know Bo, I think the reason we don't get along is because we're too much alike. He's like, I'm not going to Mini unless I'm starting.
Right.
I get it. Like, he wanted the big change and he wanted to be the man.
Yeah.
And so he goes back to Calgary and he's been paid very well there, but he ended up getting shown the door in Calgary anyway. So maybe you should have shot your shot with Mini. So for Nathan, my point is, what if BC stands up and goes, we'll give you $750,000 because the NFL is only offering 400.
Yeah.
He's going to have a choice to make here.
And you'll never know unless you give it that shot. But I mean, the best thing he can do for himself is sign in a good situation, right? Because like Adam says all the time, wherever that quarterback gets drafted to, it's very likely going to determine whether they're going to have a good career or not, right? Like, you walk into a good situation and you can have all the success in the world, but if you walk into a place with shitty coaches, brutal O-line, no weapons, what's going to happen? You're going to get
no chance
thrown to the wolves, and you're going to be right back in the CFL and with a year wasted. So he hopefully, I mean, it sounds like he's got a lot of options. Go to that place where maybe he can sit on the bench for a year, like Bo didn't want to do, and then step in like Mahomes did for, like, not to compare him to Mahomes, but he sat on the bench for a year and then walked into the best offense in the league. So maybe there's an opportunity for. And
you guys, you're Rider fans. This is what the people don't understand, gentlemen. I used to think that the only difference between America and Canada was that 49th parallel, this virtual line. That's it. We're all the same. And then I get down there and spend this time in Florida. I'm like, no, we couldn't be any more different. Couldn't be any more different. And they don't understand a lot of what our sports vernacular is. Like Weston Dressler, pride of Bismarck, North Dakota. We all know him. Rough Rider legend, Hall of Famer, Grey Cup champion. They don't care in Bismarck that he played for the Saskatchewan Roughriders. They don't. What they care is he played for the Kansas City Chiefs, 2 preseason games, and played on Monday Night Football. In Bismarck, Weston played for the Chiefs. It was for 2 weeks. Right. Doesn't matter. You know what I mean? That's the difference between Canada and America. They don't really care. Now, I will say this is nothing against the CFL, because in South Florida, when people find out that I spent 20 years in the CFL, they're like, oh, cool. They know it, but it ain't the NFL. No. And in the end, I think Nathan Rourke will take that opportunity, and I hope he never looks back, because I have had him on the show. He's a good kid. Yeah. And I think we're all pulling for him.
Yeah, no, for sure. I want to cover just a little bit more with the CFL before we move on to hockey and some other things. The CFL game, and this is on a bit of the negative side, since the new commissioner came in, I think it's been kind of not like a drop off a cliff, but the game seems to be not as exciting as it once was. I think there's a couple of reasons for that. I'd love to hear your opinion on it. I mean, one of them, frankly, is that the best team in the CFL is arguably its most boring team, right? Like, Winnipeg is not the most exciting team. I mean, the strength of their team is on defense. Caleros has been a good quarterback, but I don't think he's like, you're not comparing him to Nathan Rourke. I've got some theories on why the game is not quite as exciting as maybe it used to be. But what do you think, Rod? Like, what do you or do you agree with me?
I would be more interested to hear your theory. I'm up for all theories. It's a good question. I mean, maybe they're like the 90s New Jersey Devils, which Lou Lamoriello doesn't care what we think. They won 3 Stanley Cups.
Yeah, good point.
Winnipeg Blue Bombers don't care whether they're exciting or not. You watch Sunday, there will be big plays.
Sure.
But if you look at the past history of the CFL, and this came up again today, Ricky Ray, Anthony Calvillo, Tracy Ham, Matt Dunnigan, Damon Allen, every team had a gunslinger, star. And now There aren't that many, especially when Mike Riley left. And the sun set on Bo's career. We don't have the star quarterbacks right now. I'm not sure why.
Yeah.
And then they go and change the rules and they say scoring's up 12%. It's because we changed the rules.
Yeah.
Maybe it is. I don't know. There's more Canadians in the NFL than there's ever been this year. And doing great things like Devin Holland and Chuba Hubbard and Chase Claypool. So that athlete's gone to the NFL. So the athletes changed in the CFL. So there's that. But NFL scoring's down. I just saw that from the NFL the other day. I don't know if you saw that or not. Their scoring.
I've noticed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So football is football. And I like a 1-0 hockey game. You know, I don't, you know, I appreciate it for what it is. It's not what it used to be, but nothing's like it used to be.
So my theory is this. So it actually ties into what Ray just said. There's no sport anywhere on earth where coaching is more important than in football, right? Like that's why you see, like, if you just look at the photo on any NFL team's website of just the coaching staff, like it looks like a team in itself. There's a reason for that. And it's because the more prepared you are, the better you are, the better coach, you know, all those things. I believe it was 4 years ago that the CFL implemented a coaching staff salary cap. And it used to be, because they were saying that the have teams, the Riders, the Stamps, the Bombers, the Eskimos, it was unfair because those teams made more money. And so they were spending more money on their coaching staff. And that was an unfair advantage, which is true. But what it did is it created a breeding ground for coaches to move up the ranks in other teams, right? Because how else do you train coaches and how do you attract coaches? I think that if you were to look at the caliber of the coaching staffs today in the CFL versus what they were before, my guess is that they're inferior to those staffs that we would have seen prior to that change. And I think it's only going to get worse. And I think if you have poor coaching, and it's not just about head coach, OC, DC, it's quarterbacks coach, it's receiver coach, it's O-line coach, all those things. Well, if you're going to build a coaching staff, where are you going to spend the money? You're going to spend on the top guys, which means maybe you're not going to have the talent you would on some of those positional coaching roles. My thought is that you're never going to develop the talent that you'd like without great coaching staff. Now, maybe Nathan Rourke disproves that. Maybe he saw all this success and you go, well, you know, why was he able to do it? But, you know, Cody Fajardo wasn't, you know, obviously there's a huge talent gap there. But anyway, that's my theory. I think that the coaching salary cap in the CFL was a horrible, horrible decision.
Well, they did it because they're not making money. Their revenues are going down. I don't like it either. I actually watch your toes, because I'm going to drop some names here.
Okay.
I don't want to break your feet, but I was sitting with the premier of Saskatchewan in the restaurant that I used to own, Famoso Pizza, downtown in Regina, when that cap announcement was made. And Scott Moe turned to me, and let's remember, right-wing SAS party, the way he thinks.
Yeah.
He goes, does the CFL stand for the Communist Football League? I'm like, maybe he probably wouldn't be happy that I dropped that, but that just tells you right there.
Out of the highlights.
Yeah. Don't put it in the highlights. But other than, I don't think Scott would care. But
all 14 of our listeners are probably not going to make it back to Scott, so I think we'll be okay.
You never know. But I'm covering. That's why I left. The opportunity to live in an NFL market in South Florida and 2 NHL markets, South Florida and Calgary. Those NHL teams have more coaches than ever. The NHL teams have more coaches than ever. The NFL coaches have 24. But that's not where the CFL is lacking. Okay.
Yeah.
You guys, I could tell in the however long we've been on the air here, 30 minutes or so, you know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
You know sports. You're going to watch no matter what. And I'm going to watch no matter what. Where they've dropped the ball is the marketing to get people into the stadium and watching on television, because Susie or Johnny that don't care about the football, they don't think about the football 6 days out of the week, they're watching Monday Night Football, or they're going to one NFL game a year, dropping the money, and they're not doing that for the CFL. Why are we watching Philadelphia, Washington on a Monday night? Now, that was a decent NFC East battle, but you know what I mean? We watch the Thursday night games. We watch the Sunday night games. We all watch because of marketing, and we know who the players are. That's where the CFL dropped the ball. It's about money.
Yeah.
People aren't turning away from the CFL because the quality of ball is low. Because in my opinion,
That's fair.
The CFL just slipped right off the public conscience. And I blame a lot of that on the media, the breakdown in the media. I'm sitting here at Grey Cup where there used to be over 100 reporters covering it. They come in and now there's like 6.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just not a big deal. Whereas I was at Super Bowl last year for the first time. I'm like, what we say, shoot your shot. Similar like Nathan Rourke going to the NFL. We shot our shot. Yeah. And we went to the Super Bowl, and I walk into the convention center in LA. Like there's 1,000 radio and TV stations there. Yeah. And I'm like, this is mass. It's getting bigger.
Yeah.
You tell me why that is. And the CFL is getting smaller. I think it's all marketing because the product hasn't changed a ton in either league. That's just my opinion.
Well, I think the product, like Adam says, at least recently hasn't been good. And we are missing that star, but it really is a shame that Rourke got injured because they could have really marketed the whole thing around that guy.
My God.
And if we get another year, great. If not, you can still market around him as he plays in the NFL. So
yeah,
we'll see. But I don't know. I've always been a fan of the CFL and always will be, and it'll definitely be on one of my TVs this Sunday. And if you're betting, what's the best options, Adam? Did you look into it?
So there's not a lot of options. So, for anybody listening to the show for the first time, we didn't really talk about it, but the whole purpose of this show is to talk about sports betting. We work with a group called inplayLIVE who teaches you how to bet live while the games are happening. They've created, I don't even know how many people they've taught how to make 6-figure income per year on this. It's a lot. It's an amazing program. I strongly encourage you to check it out. If you're going to check it out, you can reach out to Ray and I on Twitter and we can tell you all about it. You can find us at Ray and Adam Show on either Twitter and Instagram. And if you look on the Twitter page, there's a promo code that'll save you $50 a quarter on your inplayLIVE membership. So with that in mind, we were looking for some good options to bet on the Grey Cup for some fun props or things like that. I mean, anybody can call the winner. We wanted to find something obscure. The bet I wanted to make was a Chad Kelly anytime touchdown, who's the short yardage specialist for the Argos and the nephew of Jim Kelly, who's my second favorite quarterback or second favorite player ever. So
that actually would have been a great anytime touchdown pick. He threw a touchdown pass last week. And I looked at any other touchdown scorer for first is like 4.5 or something. But who knows if they get down to the 1 and they put him in, he could easily sneak that in there.
Absolutely. But, yeah. I was hoping for a big fat number, but they didn't even offer him. So
he could be listed somewhere.
Yeah. Hopefully. And Andrew Pace and I were talking before the show, and he said that generally Bodog and 365 will both list a pile of player props a day or two before the game. So it's only Wednesday as we're filming this episode. So we've got a few days here before they list them. But if they offer it, that's what I'm going to bet. I'm going to throw a little stab at Chad Kelly to score a tutty.
I like it.
Yeah, hopefully some very
could try Bet Regal. They'll probably only let you put like $16 on it, but they offer a lot of player props pregame.
That's your favorite book, hey Ray?
They actually were, as far as I'm concerned, absolutely horrible. I got limited by them without even winning money, and I wasn't even betting live. I was betting pre-game baseball 5-inning markets, and my unit was enough to move their lines and then just tell me they don't want my business at all.
Yeah. If you don't want people to bet with you, why do you have a betting website? Man.
Yeah.
Roddy, let's turn to hockey. You mentioned earlier, hockey's your main sport. I know you're really close with what's going on in Calgary. What are your, obviously we've talked about it at length on this show. I don't think it's even a question who won the offseason this last year in the NHL. It looked like Calgary. I thought at one point that Calgary might go full tank mode with Tkachuk and Johnny wanting out of town, and maybe they go for Connor Bedard. Not only did they not get handcuffed by those two moves, they're a better hockey team, I think, today than they were prior to those moves. What are your thoughts? And I like talk about this year's team versus last year's team, Roddy.
Well, they won the division last year, and Daryl was the coach of the year.
Yeah.
And then the interesting thing about Calgary, it's so different from Edmonton in terms of the mentality of the fan. The Flames tank it in round 2 against the Oilers, and Calgary just went silent for a month. By that point, I was back in Florida, but I'm like, hello, is Calgary still there? You know what I mean? Like, yeah, that was bad. But it was very evident to me, not just in the playoffs, it was amplified in the playoffs, but that Johnny and Tkachuk didn't want to be there.
Yeah.
They were playing like it.
Yeah.
And so I think it was addition by subtraction, but I ended up going back to Calgary. It was right during Stampede when free agency opened, July 13th. It was a little later than normal, right? Yeah. So to go from that 2-day swing from losing those two and the stuff that was being said about the Flames, both on the streets, by the fans and the media, I'm like, oh my God, this franchise, nobody wants to play here. Burn it to the ground. Fire Brad, fire Daryl. And then they bring in these two guys and all of a sudden, winning the offseason. I'm like, oh my God. I had to go back to my room because I was living in the casino and just turn off the radio, the TV. I'm like, I'm done. I can't. It's all they talked about, right? Yeah. That's it. And now they start off like a house on fire. I think they're the most talented team in the NHL. Everybody's saying, well, Colorado coming back. That's not even the same Avalanche with Kadri gone and Kemper gone, and they're a different team. And then the Flames go and lose 7 in a row. Daryl Sutter's lost the room. He's got to be fired. Oh my God, it's a lot. It's a lot. So I still think
to Alberta hockey. It's the,
oh my God,
the emotional roller coaster.
That was new to me.
Yeah.
It's like Rider fans here. Like
it is very similar, actually.
To drag it back to that, but I'll just say I did a school function or a community function this morning at a senior's home where they brought in a daycare, and this old guy cornered Marshall Hamilton, one of my buddies, Rider alum, for like a half an hour. He's firing every question. I'm like, old man, move along. Let these kids come in. You know what I mean? But same in Edmonton and Calgary. Holy guys, I just got to turn the radio off and I can't even talk to people. So to answer your question, I think the Flames, they'll turn it around. They are good. They're getting to know each other. They overhauled more than their roster probably than they wanted to. There's a lot of new faces there, but they're a better team than the Florida Panthers. And actually, when I left Calgary, it was August 15th. I went back to Florida for 2 months, and I was at Panthers training camp, their preseason games, and the Panthers people were like, we didn't trade Huberdeau and Weegar for hockey reasons. It was for money reasons. They wanted to make it very clear. Yeah. And those were all stars that they got rid of, and they didn't want to.
Right.
They're good players. Calgary got a lot better. So they will be good. But guys, it's not even U.S. Thanksgiving yet.
Yeah.
I don't know why I went off on that tangent, but
it is true. Like, and it's funny. I don't know if I'm, I've been for my whole life, I've been a diehard Rider fan, Oilers fan, Bills fan. I mean, you can put Calgary in that conversation for the most manic fan base out there, but holy shit. You go on Oilers Twitter and they have a bad period and it's, we're never going to win another game. And, then they win one and we're going straight to the cup. And, Bills, the Bills might be the most manic team in the world, let alone the most manic fan base. But they're awesome. It shows how much they care, but God, it's a roller coaster.
Well, yeah. And the interesting thing is that media in Edmonton, they read it all. I guess they feel they have to. I don't know. But I didn't think signing Evander Kane was going to mean anything. And look what it did for them last year. And I thought Mike Smith was done. And he gets into the conference final. So what the hell do I know?
Yeah.
But
I'm just not funny. Sure Mike Smith got him into the conference final. I mean, he outplayed there.
Jacob Markstrom in round 2.
That's true.
There's no debate on that.
Yeah.
But it's just funny with Twitter. I don't pay attention to a whole lot of it. And I had Rod Smith in here this morning on my show. He's going to call the Grey Cup on Sunday.
Yeah.
And he goes, I had to turn my mentions off. There was too much hate. And I'm like, who hates Rod Smith? I'm like, I get that. I get it. I'm outspoken. He's not. But so Rod doesn't read it. And there's getting to be more and more guys in the media that don't read it because it's just people are just whacked.
Yeah.
But those Edmonton Oiler media, I think they just want to know what people are saying about the Oilers. But I'm like, don't put any stock in it, for God's sake. You'll go crazy.
Yeah. No, for sure. For sure. let's talk about Connor Bedard a little bit. You've had some interaction with him. You've met him. You've talked to him. Yeah. So, I mean, everybody knows what this kid brings on the ice. I mean, he's got the potential to be a generational talent. Like he's in that conversation. What do you like as a kid? Like, you know, like, is this a guy you're going to want in the room? Is this a future NHL captain? Is this a professional? Like, does he know how to be a pro? See that out of him? Let me
tell you this. I first started interviewing him when he was 14.
Okay.
And probably 15 seconds into that first interview, I was like, I was nervous.
Yeah.
Interviewing a 14-year-old Connor Bedard because his eyes just burn a hole in you.
Wow.
So I was like, okay, he's very mature. This was at 14. Wow. And in that interview, I said, who are you compared to? Because I hadn't seen him play yet. And I'd heard from people, but I hadn't seen him play yet. He goes, I'm me.
What a line.
14. I know, but he was, I'm me. And I was like, okay. So now you're starting to get an idea of what he's like. He's not going to be pushed around. He's very comfortable with who he is, you know, and then he got to Regina and I was trying to figure out, I couldn't really compare him to anybody. You guys have now seen him play, if not live, obviously on TV. Yeah. And it was a Pats fan who wrote me and goes, Marcel Dion. I'm like, I don't know. I think you're old enough to remember Marcel and the Purple Haze with the LA Kings. I'm like, yep.
Really? Hey, funny. That's the comparison. Isn't that fascinating?
And it's funny because I had Charlie Simmer on my show, 1/3 of the Triple Crown line with Marcel Dion and Dave Taylor. And I said that, Charlie, this kid's being compared to Marcel Dion. And he goes, well, I hope he's taller than Marcel. And I'm like, not much. He's not very big. I think he's listed at 5'10", 5'11". I'd be shocked if he's any more than 5'9".
Really?
But he's got arms like Popeye, huge forearms. And I know his shooting coach, and he said like he would, guys, I'm not joking, he would walk into the NHL right now and have top 3 best shot in the NHL.
Yeah.
At 17.
Shit.
Not joking.
Wow.
He's pretty solid too. Hey, like he's got big,
very thick
legs.
That's what I'm saying. Marcel Dion was thick. Even when he plays really thick now, but when he played, he was pretty thick. And that's Connor Bedard. The only thing is at the World Juniors, he could have been better. You know, and like I don't think he's big on back checking, really.
Right.
And he's going to have to work on that. For up until now, he hasn't really had to.
Right.
But I think on that gold medal goal, McTavish, when he scored it, I think Connor tied up the finish forward the other way in his own zone. I think he'll play it when he has to, but overall, he doesn't really like it. I mean, Jordan Eberle had to learn to play defense, and he does play defense now. If you watch, and when I say defense, he doesn't play defense, you understand, but he does back check. Bedard's not that big on that, and he's going to have, but he can. You know, he'll learn it. But it's just people have watched him that they get caught up in this Bedard thing, and they turn on the World Juniors or the World Under-18s and go, "What's the big deal? He's not McDavid." We're like, we never said he was going to be. He's not going to pick up the puck and blow through the whole team.
Yeah.
But he'll do special things at special times. Even from a statistical standpoint, he reminds me a bit of Jagger. Like Jagger, you'd sit and watch him live and go, what did he do all night? And then look at the score sheet and go, he had 3 points in a 5-3 win. How did he do that? That's kind of Bedard to me. But he also scores in the big games too.
Yeah. It's one of the things I appreciate a lot about like players where sometimes you don't even notice how good they are. And then you look at the stat sheet and they're like, how the hell did that happen? Right. Like Marcus Naslund was like that with Vancouver. He got 4 points.
And Alexei Kovalev, was like
Draisaitl, right? Like, I mean, everybody knows, they see the stats, but like, if you're just kind of casually watching a game, you might not realize that he had another 4-point night, right? Like he's just always there and he just knows how to do it. I love guys like that. It's awesome. Rod, who do you think has the best value right now in the NHL, right? And the value from a betting perspective, who do you think is not getting the respect that they deserve? I actually think that there's a Stanley Cup bet to be made right now that I think some people might laugh at, but there's a team that started out very poorly and is now starting to look like a team that looks pretty good again. But I'd be curious to hear what you say about where do you see value from a betting perspective?
I thought you meant individual player, but you're talking team.
I'm talking teams. Yeah.
Well, I'm way. I mean, I wouldn't. Okay, you guys are longtime Rider fans. Monday night, I was at John Lynch's house.
Okay,
and we were sitting down to watch the Flames and the Kings. And he goes, "Have you looked at the standings? Have you seen where the Flames are in the standings?" I said, "No, I haven't even."
You do a great John Lynch, by the way.
I'm around him all the time, so it's not hard. But I'm like, Lynch, it's November. It's not even U.S. Thanksgiving yet.
Yeah,
I'm not even looking at the standings till January. So for me, I would say the Flames, I'm not joking, would be a good bet. But Peter Maher came on our show in Calgary, the Hall of Fame voice of the Flames. He goes, everybody gets all horny about the first 15 games of the season. He goes, it's game 15 to 30. In his experience, that you should really pay attention to what's going on. Those flashing up. Anaheim had a terrible start. I think we now know they are what they are. Ottawa had a great start. Look where they are. Yep. You know what I mean? He goes, this is the segment where you find out what you have as a team. And if that's the New Jersey Devils, sign me up. As we say here today, winners of 10 in a row.
Yeah.
So this they feel is where pay attention, especially if you're betting, because the teams that are hot right now might be the teams that stay hot. Fair?
The other thing that I really like about the Devils is they've won a lot of 1-goal games, right? Like that's something I want to see, right? Because in playoffs they're going to be tighter, and the Devils have a lot of 1-goal victories. I'm almost positive they lead the league in the most 1-goal regulation victories, but you can count overtime in that too. They're excellent at it. My team that I actually think has a lot of value, and it's a little bit of deja vu, although they're turning it around a little earlier this year than the last time.
I know you're talking about.
It's the Blues. The Blues were, 2 weeks ago or 10 days ago, they were talking about firing everybody. I watched the last 10 minutes of that game against Colorado where they won 3-2. They killed off a minute 40-second 5-on-3 to win by 1. Binnington is starting to look like a player. They've won 3 in a row. They're that big, heavy, mean team that can win when it counts. Nobody gave them a tougher run, nobody gave Colorado a tougher run than they did last year. Like they were close last year.
That's crazy. I'm just looking at their schedule here. They had 8 in a row before winning 3 in a row. But they lost 8 in a row.
Right.
And you're right. Like there might have been some heads that rolled there, but back-to-back 3-2 wins against Vegas and Avalanche maybe buys them some time. Maybe they go on a run.
Yeah. They I don't know what their odds are to win the cup right now, but
pretty long, I would think.
It'd be pretty long.
As we sit here, 29th team in the NHL, but that's because of the terrible start, as you mentioned. Yeah.
Well, they're ahead of where they were at Christmas when they won the cup. They were DFL the year they won the cup at New Year's, were they not?
Yeah. Yes. And you still there? Oh, there you go. What do you got? Yeah. Look at the Oilers last year, guys. It was the end of February when they got in the Leon, why are you so pissy? Discussion, Jim Matheson and Leon. So that's why to sit and talk about it right now. If you want to lay bets, go ahead in futures. Yeah, I wouldn't, but that's why they call it gambling, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I really like teams that know how to win, and particularly who have core players that know how to win. And they might have lost a couple of guys since they won the cup. I'm sure there's a few, but I don't know. There's the team that I wouldn't want to play them.
Pull up another futures market there. Is there a win the lottery odds there? Like,
that's an interesting one.
Finishing dead last. I guess there isn't.
No,
but let's discuss that. Who do you think not only is the worst team, but is going to try to be the worst team to win the Bedard sweepstakes? Like Chicago got rid of some talent they could use right now. Anaheim, although they have a couple young studs in Terry and Zegras, look totally outmatched almost every night.
Did you know that Anaheim has not won I think I read this right. They have not won a single game in regulation yet this year.
Really?
Every win they have was in overtime. They have not won one game in regulation, if I'm not mistaken.
Arizona, you could argue, wants them the most, but I feel like they're too good to actually finish last unless they win that lottery. Philly has so much dead cap space, yet Tortorella's got them out there winning games. But if you had to guess, what jersey is Bedard throwing over his shoulders in next year's draft?
San Jose just announced, or there's rumors that San Jose wants to move on from Carlson too. So they might be getting close to
maybe. I'm going to say the Blackhawks.
What do you got, Roddy?
I would say probably Chicago. Arizona is what I've been saying for 2 years, but all of a sudden they're screwing things up and getting better.
Yeah.
So can I ask you this? Just throw this out there as a conspiracy question.
Yeah.
Canucks fan friend of mine said he thinks the NHL will rig the lottery so that Vancouver can't win it and Bedard will go to a U.S. market.
Yeah. I mean, I think there was one lottery that they rigged, and I think it was Crosby going to Pittsburgh because that was after the strike year. I think that's the one that they really did. Anybody who thinks that the lotteries are still rigged should only look at what happened with the Oilers in these lotteries, right? Like if you look at it from a marketing perspective of the league, Edmonton would have been probably the last place on earth they would have wanted Connor McDavid to go.
Exactly. But maybe they learned their lesson that day and they're like, no, we're not fucking doing that again.
Yeah. Maybe. Well, and Austin Matthews to Toronto. I mean, if they're anti-Canadian, they wouldn't have all these number one picks going to Canadian markets. So
totally. Yeah.
Like I say, I've said Arizona forever, but they're screwing things up, Yeah.
Yeah. I would actually say they would rather him be in Vancouver than Arizona playing in front of. Well, I think the Regina Pats have a higher seating capacity than the Coyotes do right now.
What a joke. That's the one thing that I can't understand. And that's the other thing is people sit and try and figure out why leagues do what they do. Why would the NHL approve that arena for Arizona? Yeah. There is an underworld. And I used to think, guys, when I got out of hockey full time, that I thought all the media knew what I knew and football media. And then I realized these guys don't know anything. They don't talk to the GMs and players and coaches like I do.
Yeah.
So what I heard about that Coyotes owner is that if this is true, it's what I heard from a very good NHL source, 51 cents of every dollar bet in Arizona goes to him. 51 cents of every dollar bet in Arizona, wagered in casinos, online, you name it, goes in his pocket. He has unending money. He's the exact kind of owner that Gary Bettman would want. Never going to go broke. So that's why he'll do anything to keep the team there.
Wow.
That's a wow, right? That nobody seems to know.
It makes things add up a little more.
Doesn't it?
Yeah.
And it's to be honest, it's the same thing with the Florida Panthers owner, Vinny Viola, who started a securities company 40 some years ago in New York and apparently is never in Florida, but he owns the Panthers. One time I heard he was losing $180,000 a day. That was when the Panthers were bad. They're not bad anymore. Like they're drawn really well, but he didn't care. These are the types of owners that the leagues want.
No kidding. Yeah. Wow.
They're not in it to make money.
No. You look at what's a cheap NHL franchise now? $600 million?
Well, the Senators would be the cheapest.
Yeah. And what are they?
And they're talking $700 million US.
$700 million. And I'd be shocked if that thing makes $70 million a year. Like there's no way you're getting a 10% return on that investment. There's no chance. I bet you it's less than 20.
It sounds like their biggest issue is where the rink is. Well, no,
it's a part of it.
Yeah. Same deal as what Arizona dealt with in Glendale for all those years. All the Canadians aren't traveling down that freeway during rush hour during the week. Right. Yeah. Like, and there's not enough Canadians that live on that side. I would say, but
no, you're 100% right. But what I think they have wrong there, and thank God, at least I think the owner's name is Murillo. first ever Hispanic owner in NHL history. At least he's from there.
Sure.
Like when Gary Drummond, who we all know from Regina, was one of the owners. I was hanging out there a lot with those guys. And Gary had me meet with their staff. And they complained and said, how come the Canadians don't come to the games? We're the 7th biggest city in Canada. Why don't we have Canadians come? And I'm like, because you're shitty, guys. Yeah. And then I would sit at the games with the Americans that are season ticket holder, born and bred Phoenicians, as they call them, Arizonans. And they're like, we get a bad rap here that we don't like hockey. This team hasn't made the playoffs in 10 fucking years.
Yeah.
Right? That's why the arena's empty.
Yeah.
Because they went to the conference finals, if you guys remember, in 2012 against LA, and that place was jammed.
Absolutely. They had the sea of white and the whole deal. Right. It was awesome.
So they get a bad rap as hockey fans in that town. So I think, honestly, the dream, this was the key to rebuilding the Arizona Coyotes when Drummond owned them, drafting Austin Matthews, winning the lottery.
Yeah.
It's a franchise-changing thing to win the lottery.
Oh, there's no question.
Especially him.
Because he's from there.
Yeah.
But Bedard could go over well there too. That's why I said to the guy, I'd like to think that they're not going to rig it, but who knows? I've seen the
we're going to talk about rigging things in Arizona in terms of that's a whole nother show.
Yeah.
All the news this week. Okay. Before we sign off, we got to make some picks. So,
I gotta go here right away. I just looked at the clock. Sorry.
Yeah. I'm going to give people some things to consider. Everybody knows I'm a big Bills fan. So they are anticipating 2 feet of snow in Buffalo this week. The year the Bills broke their playoff drought, the game that actually kind of propelled them to it was a snow game against Indianapolis. The Bills started, Tyrod was hurt that day, or Tyrod as Pacer likes to call him, which is actually probably correct. They were with Nathan Peterman, who got hurt, and then they were forced to play a quarterback named Davis Webb, who was a special teams player, and came in and with LaShawn McCoy led them to victory. What's interesting about that is Jacoby Brissett was the Colts quarterback that day, and he's the Cleveland Browns quarterback for one more week while Deshaun's in town. This is Buffalo, Cleveland this week. It's going to be a snowball. It is that what people might not realize is when the snow is coming off Lake Erie, it is the thick, heavy, wet. It's brutal. Like, it's not like you're running through fluff. Like, you are running through quicksand. It's just white. It's brutal. A lot of people think that Cleveland's going to have the advantage in this game because of the fact that, they've got 2 really good running backs, and the Bills aren't exactly known for their running backs. When I first looked at this, I heard snow. I was like, the Bills are going to lose again. It's going to be brutal. The more I think about it, the more I think all of this favors Buffalo. And I'll tell you why. Number one, Cleveland has a dog shit run D. They are terrible on their run D. Second thing is, people would say, well, Cleveland has 2 running backs to worry about in Hunt and Chubb. And I would argue that Chubb is probably the best running back in the world right now. True. But Bills run D is much better. And I think the X factor in this game comes from quarterback rushing. I think that the running backs are going to be kind of neutralized simply because Cleveland's run D is so much worse than the Bills' run D. And when you add Josh Allen's legs into this thing, I think that's going to be the X factor. So I think you're not going to get a lot of value betting on the Bills. I mean, they're favored by 9.5, and there's no value on the money line. But I think you can bet whatever you want on Josh Allen rushing attempts and Josh Allen rushing yards. I think he's going to run for 1 million. He's also still nursing that elbow injury. And the last time he had that same injury, which was when his rookie year, his 4 games after he came back from that injury, he averaged something like 80 yards rushing a game. So I think the bet of the week this week from Player Props is to bet on Josh Allen rushing yards. Bet responsibly, of course, but I'm going to fucking hammer that wager. That's my bet.
Okay.
Razor, what's yours?
It looks like this line is moving. It was 4.5 yesterday. It's 5.5 today. Sorry if I'm taking your pick, Rod, but I think the Bombers are gonna pound them, and I think I'll be taking next score all day long on the Bombers. Maybe hit first half -3 as well.
Well, how about that? That's off the top ropes. I think the Bombers are going to win. I don't know what Bet Regal, by the way, is my exclusive betting partner, and obviously your favorite betting company.
See if you can get Ray to open his account for him. Jeepers, you bet you $4.
Sorry, they were actually really good till I got limited.
It's all good. Whatever the line is, I'll take Winnipeg to cover. I just think they're too good. They're better than the last 2 years. So that is what I will say is my bet. And I apologize on this NFL stuff. What's today? Wednesday?
Yeah.
I have had my head so far up the CFL's ass all week here at Grey Cup that I haven't even, it's been driving me crazy that I haven't been able to watch Sports Center or get on. I've been doing a lot of interviews. I've been going to a lot of events. So I can't talk about the NFL with any knowledge right now. So I will say Winnipeg to cover, but I hope it's a good game.
Yeah, I think it will be. I think it's going to be a fun game. Hopefully the weather cooperates. Hopefully it's not too windy, and it's it'll be a fun one. Roddy, thanks so much for coming on, pal. This was
good seeing you.
This was a lot of fun for us, and we talk so much NFL on this show and so much other things. So to have you on, get some good old fashioned CFL love happening, and of course we love your hockey takes too. So Rod, this is great, and congratulations. 2 months away from that big milestone. That's just awesome to see.
Thank you, man. Things are good. I appreciate it. Hope
things are great. Guys. Yeah, congrats on all your success.
Anytime.
Love it. Okay,
thanks, Rod.
See you guys.
Have a good one.
This was the Ray and Adam Show, brought to you by inplayLIVE. Sign up now for inplayLIVE by using the exclusive Ray and Adam link and promo code.